How did I learn? Trial and error. If you take your time, be anal, clean everything completely, and I shake like a dog shit in razor blades, so. And smile. Oh shit, I need a beer. Hello YouTube, hello brewers, welcome back. Today we're going to put FV7 back together. We CIP'd FV6 on the last episode. So today we're going to put FV7 back together. It's not as simple as you'd think, just putting it back together. Obviously there's a lot of inspections that go on, and also in the tank, when it comes to CIPing a vessel, so clean in place, it's not simply just a caustic loop and then a sanitizer loop. There's actually, if you have a look in the tank, you got to check for any build-up of calcium and things like that, calcium deposits. This tank's clean as, it's pretty good, but basically between every 6 months, and depending on what brew goes in the vessel, you'll have to do an acid loop, and that'll passivate your stainless steel. So that's part of the CIP, passivation of stainless steel. Keeps your stainless steel in good condition. It also does things to the stainless steel that you could do a whole video on stainless steel and how to maintain it. But basically you passivate every time you need to. So you have an inspection in your tank. If it needs it, you passivate it. If you're doing things like sours, generally the tank, if you've got a dedicated sour tank, usually that'll passivate, that low pH will passivate your tank. So, you know, every 6 months you would run an acid loop in that tank. So there's more than just CIP. So there's more than just the caustic loop and the sani loop. There's a passivation loop that you do when it's needed. So we'll have a look inside the tank first, inspection, and we'll see it. Get in there, you bastard. So you can see the tank's clean. There's no calcium deposits. There's no like streaks in the stainless where it's going to need a acid loop. It's clean as. So we'll begin by inspecting all the ports. So make sure they're all clean. So go around and do the whole thing. Yep, that's good. Yep, and if they're not, obviously, trusty brush. And you just check it again until it's clean. Righto, so what we've got in here is 2% peracetic acid, and we're just soaking all the valves. When we finished cleaning FV6, we did a passivation, all the valves, when we soaked it in Nausid, which is nitric acid and phos acid mixture. We've drained that now, and now it's sitting in 2% peracetic acid, which is no rinse sanitizer basically. So we're going to touch the Carbstone now. I've got to get gloves first. I'll be back. Hang on. So once the Carbstone comes out of the ultrasonic bath, we place that in the passivation acid. And basically after that, you don't want to touch the Carbstone because you leave like basically fatty acids, fatty oils on the Carbstone, which is no good, obviously. I always start with the Carbstone with the gloves, then I can ditch the gloves and continue. So basically what we do, we just fill up that Carbstone with the peracetic acid. Then we grab opposite end of the Carbstone. Just going to run a bottle brush in. Then we'll let that fill up too. I'm going to examine our stone, make sure it's clean, obviously around the O-ring, looks good. Screw it on, then you just grab your CO2 and you run it through. So now that's all peracetic acids run right through the Carbstone. Let it run for a bit. So once it's all run through, the peracetic acid through the Carbstone, we'll close the Carbstone, and then we'll let this section before the non-return valve fill up with CO2 as well. 30 pound in that now, so there's no chance of any oxygen to get in that. That reduces any DO that could be driven in when you're carbing the final product. So you'll listen for that pop. Ha! That didn't pop. What the fuck was happening there? I've got the CO2 turned off. Diddle head. Run it through again, you can just check. So this is how the Carbstone works. Check your setting too. just push it right back and make sure there's no leaks here at the connection point. See how it's coming out the carbstone, not the connection point. I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out the connection point. See that? See it leak out the connection point, so it's a waste of time not having your carbstone working to its full potential. So you tighten it up and then we can check that again. No leaks now, just the carbstone. Right, and then just pull it out. Let all that parasitic acid come out. We know it's fully sanitised. This section of the carbstone is now filled with CO2. It's 30 pound in there and you'll hear a pop when it comes off. See the smoke of the CO2, you know that's ready to go. And then now with the copper, I'll just passivate that again because the parasitic acid has an oxidizer in it. So it'll oxidise the copper. I'll just passivate it again with the Now-Sid mixture. That's it, ready to go in the tank. Grab the correct size silicon gasket, inspect it, put it on. And when you put the carbstone, obviously check your clamp too. It's clean, free of any solids. When you insert the carbstone, you don't want to hit the sides, and I shake like a dog shitting razor blades, so it's difficult for me, but I'll attempt it. You ready? Anyway, it doesn't work for me, but you guys try not to hit the side. Clamp on. When you put your clamps on, I always face them down on the hot side. It just takes away any chance that you may undo that clamp by accident. I'll show you more what I mean when I put on the bottom valve. Surprisingly happens a lot. What you want to do when you're working on a tank as well, so identify your tank that you're working on, like FV7, that's all I'm working on. Because I've got FV6 next to me, which is a pressure tank. That's a pressure tank as well. Like they're all Unitanks. They've got 1.5 bar in them most of the time when they sit there. So you don't want to be not thinking, which is a good chance because you're a brewer, and just coming over to this side for whatever reason. Happens all the time, especially when tanks are lined up alongside each other. We'll insert a clip where someone gets blown across the room, eh? In case that happens, you should have an oh-fuck valve. So an oh-fuck valve is a valve open, ready to go, and it's got a silicon gasket siliconed to the valve. So siliconed straight on like that, and that's your oh-fuck valve. So if that happens, something blows off, you come along and you can have, if the product's coming out, you can put it on like that. Because if you try and put a cap on that, you've got, 1.5 bar pissing out, so you're never going to get it on. Whereas if you use this, the oh-fuck valve, you can save the day and save the beer. We've got two, one in this area and then one in the back area as well. All right, now I can remove the gloves, the carbstone's in. And then basically we just start from the bottom up on our tank. Obviously it's only 2%, so it's no rinse, parasitic acid, won't hurt you. You can drink it, but I wouldn't, doesn't taste good. So we grab our size appropriate gasket, make our way to the top. Whack the tri-clamp on. Every tri-clamp you put on you want to inspect as well. With these, I like to just give it 2 turns. You got 2 size valves, 25mm, 38mm. So 38mm goes on the dump valve, 38mm will go on the racking arm, and then 25s on your blow off, 25s on your spray ball. So I'll always run the pipe cleaner through both sides of the valve, and then I'll run it around. And the reason I do that is because if any of these bolts are loose, you'll catch it when you do that. Rinse it in the parasitic again, match up your gasket, check your clamp, hot tip on the clamp. When it's in your right hand, spin away to open, and then to bring in, spin that way. Same again, see how I have placed the clamp facing down and away, out of sight? And the reason for that is when you're mucking around here putting hoses, or let's say you're putting a sight glass on to dump the cone, surprisingly enough, it sounds stupid, but it happens all the time. If that clamp was facing up this way, there's a good chance, especially when it's pressurised, you could go for that clamp. So I always face the clamp down and away, out of sight. I also give it an extra turn. And then whenever I'm working with a hot tank, so a pressurised tank, I'll say to myself, clamp, valve, clamp, and confirm it, take the clamp off. Sounds silly, but it's amazing how many pressurised tanks get blown and you got shit all through the fucking brewery. And that's not a good day. I've never done it, touch wood. Nothing like a bit of OCD to save your beer. Basically then just repeat the steps. Speeding it up. Trusty torch. When you insert the racking arm, you want to know what's top and bottom. So I know that's the top. Because I looked at it before I put it in, but then you can confirm that when you have a look up there. It's all the way up. So we can get our product nice and clean, and then the more times we dump the cone, the more we can bring our racking arm down. And then same again with these. So I just crank it up. So you can move freely without moving the actual racking arm. That's where you should have it during fermentation, basically down and 45 away. That way you tend not to, if you've got it up like this, when the yeast flock out, they'll fill up your racking arm. Same again, 38mm valve. Same process. Don't skip any steps. Brewing's just it's a process, basically. So if you go through the process, don't skip any steps. 9 times out of 10, everything should go to plan. So on goes the racking arm valve. The other thing you can do too, if you want to put a bit more tension on those clamps, on the hot side, if you just wiggle your valve, like, it'll seat it better and you'll get another half turn. Like, that's maxed out now, so you can wiggle it, get another half turn. Keep all your valves facing the same way, because I've got OCD. That's about it. Now we grab our main gasket for the PA8. You want to inspect this the whole way too. Put it in the paracetic acid, whack your thumb in there with your thumbnail, and you run it all the way around. Easiest way to put this on is whack your chest into the PAH and just pull it over it. And see how you've got that paracetic acid still on there? That's what you want to see too. Right, and then just turn him in. You do want to keep that plumb, and your gap, you want to do the best gap you can, like the most even. If you keep your the main part plumb, what'll happen when you pressurise your tank, and if you over pressurise your tank, this will tilt either way. It's just another visual cue that your tank might be over pressure without your spunding valve or your pressure relief valve going off, and you can release some pressure out of it. And then same again, a little bit of copper or brass, you're just going to passivate that. This is our analog temperature sensor, which you want to inspect, clean, dump in the paracetic acid. Try not to get these wet. They're not great. They work alright in high temps, so they're worth having just for a visual cue. But once you get below, you know, once you start cold crushing, if you're around 0.5 or something like that, then fucking piece of shit. That's why you've got a PT100 sensor. Works way better. Back into the drink. Got our sample valve, which we're going to clean. Get used to hanging onto a pipe cleaner all the way through through the spring and all. Right, inspect everything. They got sample port, side arm, got your spacer, spring, and then your nut. Same again, 25mm gasket. You're going to plumb that up too. OCD. Alright, spunding valve. Wipe him down. Have a look, inspect everything. I didn't mention before too, I removed all the gaskets on all the top sections of the Unitank as well, and inspected them, and then reconnected them all. And then I also did a passivation spray on with the Aussies on the top of the tank as well. Same with the spunding valve. You use your brain. This is a small area, so you wouldn't have the fucking spunding valve out like that and fucking coat hang yourself. Like, it's just common sense. You'd tuck it into the tank. Wipe everything down as you go too with the microfiber, because we don't want streaks on our tank. Same again. Just basically looking at our bolts on our valve, internals of the valve. Match up your gasket size, 25mm. Same again here with your valve. Just give it a wiggle. You're not going to put it out like that. Coat hanger anyone short like Mick Carmody. So we're going to tuck our valve in. Now our blow off arm. Feel like you're repeating yourself. 25mm gasket. Same again, think about where your valve's going to end up. That's how the tank will spend most of its time. So you want to have it tucked. Obviously when your blow off is open, that's how it'll sit. While your tank's sitting here and there's no product in it, you should leave both the blow off and the spray ball arm open, just to allow any air just to circulate in your tank. Right, final dry hop port. Inspect the 100mm gasket, because usually you get a little bit of dry hop build up on it. Most of the time you try and clean it as you go, but you tend to get a bit on it. That's clean. Inspection, clean. Keep those streaks off your tank. Serves no purpose other than OCD and judging brewers' eyes, eh? Righto, that's about it. Last thing I'll do is just go over the tank with the Aussies and just look to see if there's any rust spots. Look, there's one here. Like, it's stainless steel obviously, but we're close to the ocean. So I'll put the Aussies on that and just rub it in. It's pretty good. That's it. Then make sure you fucking clean up after yourself. Empty your tank. You can run that paracetic acid around your feet. The Unitank. Put your extra tri-clamps away. Basically now it would be ready for a passivation loop if we were to do one, if it needed one. I use the Aussies, which is nitric acid and phosphoric acid, and that'll be a 1 hour loop in the tank. So the same way we did the CIP, up through the spray ball, and it'll run down all the stainless, repeat for an hour, and then we'll recapture the acid because you can use it continuously. We usually use the CIP cart to do that because you can recapture the acid and you don't waste product. The main thing is to be really anal when you put in Unitank back together when it comes to cleaning all your valves, inspecting your valves, and the reason being, once the wort's in there and the ladies are in there, the yeast, if the tank's not right, you're pretty well fucked. You're going to be tipping shit down the drain. It's not a good day. It's not what you want. So if you take your time, be anal, clean everything completely, check your valves, check your ports, check all your bolts are up. Because once the tank's pressurised as well, that's pretty well it. There's no replacing a valve if it's pressurised. Like, you're pouring product down the drain, simple as that. Obviously know that because I've tipped a lot of beer down the drain, so, and good brewers do that. So thanks for watching, thanks for your support of the channel. Hope this helps, and we'll see you on the next vid. Hooroo. The end result, Shan.
How did you learn how to put your tank back together?
How did I learn? Trial and error. I think I learnt most of it with those original fermenters we had, to be honest. That how thorough you have to be to clean each valve and everything like that. I didn't.
So the like now at Scallop Street.
Yeah, Scallop Street factory. Like, I mean those shitty fermenters we had. Remember those single skin fucking pieces of shit that I built? Yeah. That's where I learnt. By trial and error and dumping beer down the fucking drain. How thorough you have to be, that's the biggest thing. The main reason, to help. Because there was nothing online. There was only like a couple of vids on YouTube, and it was so hard to find. It's the main reason. A lot of sleepless nights.
Again?